Broncos country, what's going on? We got some exciting news. We'll touch on this in a bit, but Darren Rizzi has been hired as special teams coordinator. I think we all could have seen that coming here for a while, but I think the most interesting point of news today here this weekend has been the fact that it's been reported that Taysom Hill is going to likely be released. And his contract is pretty interesting because, on the surface level, as you can see right here, that pre June 1st release, you don't really save any money. So that's why I was like, man, maybe he's going to stay with the Saints. But a post June 1st release, they can release him early and just designate him for that type of release. He will save the Saints $10 million, and they are about $50 million over the cap right now. So they definitely need to move on from him. And it's got me wondering, shall we see Taysom Hill actually in the orange and blue, which would be really, really fun? I think it would be a great move for the Broncos to make to just help raise the floor of the tight end room. Now, I'm not saying you bring him in as your tight end one. No, but I would love the idea. I really like it of bringing in both Taysom Hill and Juwan Johnson from the Saints, and hey, drafting a guy like Colston Loveland, Elijah Arroyo, Gunnar Helm, Terrence Ferguson. There are a lot of different guys that we could draft, right? To where I think then you're really building out a nice tight end room. And it would be really fun to see what Taysom Hill could do with the Broncos. Now, I do want to just gloss over his stats very, very quickly. Over the past couple years, obviously he had a season-ending injury. I'm trying to remember what that was. But in 2023, when he was healthy, was uh, 33 receptions on 40 targets for 291 yards, a couple touchdowns. This year was still averaging over 8 yards a catch, which is great. Rushing, this is where he really comes in handy. Of course, we might not need him to rush as much with Bo Nix, but again, you got a guy that can take snaps and run it from the quarterback position under center or in shotgun. Imagine him in a backfield with Bo Nix or running him out. There's some interesting things that you could do, but you see here in 2023, he had 400 rushing yards, 5 yards a carry. And then this past year, 39 carries, 278 yards. It's a 7.1 average. And then you can see, he has passed it a little bit, over the last couple of years, just a one touchdown to one interception. But, at 64% completion throughout his career, hey, on 100 or 302 attempts. That's pretty solid. So I would imagine with him being 40 years or 34 years old, we can sign him to a pretty cheap contract. Maybe we're able to bring in Juwan Johnson for around $10 million. Maybe we're able to bring Taysom Hill in for maybe just a few million dollars. I think that would be really, really interesting. And I wanted to also touch on, what would it possibly open up cap wise for the Broncos if they were to kind of revamp the tight end position? Because maybe if you're bringing in a guy like Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill, maybe you don't necessarily need somebody like a Nate Atkins or an Adam Troutman. Maybe you can cut one of them in training camp if you end up drafting a really high end tight end as well. But yeah, we can kind of go through what that would do. If we were to move on from Adam Troutman with a couple of signings, we end up saving $2.5 million. So that's something interesting as well. And I think that Nate Atkins, he's a little bit less. Yeah, if you release Nate Atkins, you save a little over $1 million. So that's just something interesting to consider what we want to do in free agency um, with the tight end position. But I say you bring in Taysom Hill. He adds versatility to the offense. But you definitely want to go and get a guy with long-term promise and as well sign a free agent in free agency that I think kind of fits that starter caliber level player with still some career upside, such as a Juwan Johnson. Again, Taysom Hill is already 34 years old. Now, I did want to hit on this as well. I love the fact that we have Darren Rizzi signing as our special teams coordinator, assistant head coach as well. He was the assistant head coach for a handful of years with Sean Payton in New Orleans. He was the interim head coach this year, and special teams units have killed it. They've always been in the top half of performing special teams units, and it's 12 of his 13 years coaching special teams, which I think is really cool as coordinator. So he's worked with a lot of great returners, uh, Deontay Hardy, Rashid Shaheed, hey, Will Lutz as a kicker, but maybe we'll see Will Lutz continue to be a really good kicker for us, as well as see Marvin Mims's game on special teams taken to a whole new level. I think that that would be really great. But I absolutely love the fact that we're bringing in Darren Rizzi. Love the Saints connection. Love that we're continuing to see that go on. Now we do have a couple other positions to sign in terms of for position coaches. I think our tight end position coach is open, as well as inside linebackers. So we'll have to be seeing what goes on with that. But y'all let me know, Broncos country, do you want to see Taysom Hill here? Again, I don't think that he's going to cost very much. He was kind of overpaid, in my opinion, at around $10 million per season. If you're asking me, but I think he also signed that contract when he also very well could have been the starting quarterback. So it's kind of weird, but I think you should be able to get him for very, very cheap, maybe, 2, 3, $4 million. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to smash that like and subscribe. And as always, go Broncos.